This is the Tackle Club saltwater inshore box for August. And it is absolutely packed with stuff. So as per usual, let's start with the top of the water column and work our way deeper. So first up we have one from our friends at Halco. This is the Halco Slide Dog 105. So this is obviously a stick bait or a pencil bait, which is 28 grams. Which is going to be perfect for tailor, salmon, kingfish, javali, mackerel, coral trout, greenfish, tuna, GTs, heaps, you name them. But essentially this is a pretty heavily weighted stick bait, so you're going to get a very long cast with this. I'm going to aim to work this over the shallow reefs or shoals, or if you're rock fishing, it's going to be perfect for that as well. If you're fishing for tuna, looking for busting up tuna, another perfect opportunity there for you to catch some fish off the surface. But I've gone over stick baits many times in previous boxings, but I'll go over it again. So all you do is you just pop a long cast out. As soon as it hits the water, I like to maybe give it 1 or 2 seconds to, if it's a sinking one, which this is a medium sink, so it will slowly sink down into the water column, and then I'll start doing a sweep and then wind the slack line in, sweep, wind the slack line in, and continue that over and over again. Surface fishing is my favorite way to fish any water, whether it be, you know, chasing cod in my local rivers, going for bass, going offshore, inshore, off the rocks. Any sort of offshore fishing is my favorite, and it's super exciting. Now obviously if you're not having any luck on the surface side of things, you've got a couple extras here. Moving over to one from Rapala. So I've got this one here, the Rapala Saltwater X-Wrap. So these come pre-fitted with super strong single hooks on them. So it's going to be a lot safer for the fish when you do land them, but these are going to be a great option for doing some trolling out the back of your kayak or out the back of the boat, chasing some mackerel, or once again, tuna, any other sort of species that will chase a high speed lure. So you can troll this at a high speeds, even like your wahoo as well will be great. Troll this along. It is a deeper diver as well, this one here. This one is going to go down to about 15 foot deep. Now you don't have to fish this just trolling. If you're fishing some reef as well, maybe some shoals, you can crank this down, like cast it out and just rip it down to get it down nice and deep, then go into like a slow to medium wind, where you can speed it up as well. Obviously, a speedy retrieve is going to be more beneficial if you're chasing things like mackerel, wahoo, tuna, stuff like that. The faster retrieve can be better. But if you're in and around the shoals where you're going to be chasing more reef fish and stuff, then I'm going to slow it down. Like I said, I'm going to cast it out, rip it down, go into a slow to medium roll, maybe add a few twitches and stuff in as well. Then that's the Rapala Saltwater X-Wrap. Now I've got several different soft plastic options for you here. I'll save the jig for the end because that's probably going to be your slow or deep water sort of fishing. But we've got 3 different soft plastics here to choose from, as well as jig heads to match. So I'll start off with the smaller profile out of the lot. So this is Damiki anchovy shad in a 4-inch. I've got these ones here in a little pearl color. So these are a big paddle tail plastic. So with the paddle tail ones, I do like to fish these a little bit slower and just let the tail do all the swimming and all the work and all the action for me. That's what they're made to do. So with the Baramba Lures Barra jig head, so I've got these here in a 1/2 ounce 7/0 hook. These will fit, but maybe a little bit on the big side. I'd probably be opting more these hooks for the next 2 plastics. This size here, I'm probably thinking more of a 5/0 hook. And once again, depends on the depth of water that you're fishing in. But for me, you know, around the 30 meters, once again, it's very dependent on the current as well. If there's not much current ripping through, then you can probably get away with, you know, dropping right down to like a 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce even. If that current's really ripping through, you might have to step up to like a 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 2.5 ounce. You're gonna have to gauge that on the day where you're fishing, but with the paddle tail, I'll fish these as light of a jig head as I can get away with, just to maximize the sink swim time that these get for the paddle tail to do all the action. Now, if you've got to fish heavy jig heads, then, or you want to fish a little bit faster, then that's where you're going to look at one of these too. So we've got one here from Pro Lures, and these are the Prey Minnow. I've got these in a brown bass 160mm version, and these are a fork tail plastic. So fork tail plastics like this, it's more about the action that the angler puts into the plastic. So cast it out, let it sink to the bottom. I'm going to start getting really whippy, hop it off the bottom a fair bit, mix and match the retrieve style that you do for these. But normally, as opposed to the paddle tails, the fork tails, I will fish these a bit faster and try to get that sort of reaction strike from the fish. And then we've got one here from an Australian company, and one of my favorite plastics, honestly. I've fished with these a fair bit up at Hervey Bay and slayed the fish, and I've been using them ever since. I've nearly run out, so it's actually kind of good that I got some more in this box. But these are Gobbler's Lures soft plastics, so they're super durable plastics. And this one here, I have it in the bait fish jerk shad in the 6-inch. Now the cool thing about the Gobbler's plastics, especially this one here, if you hold it up to the sun, so right in front of me, it's a fairly natural looking bait fish color, so you know, a bit of blue translucency, some fleck in it. But with the UV and reflection from the sun, it gets a bit of a green tinge to it too, which I absolutely love, because once you drop this into that salt water, you're gonna get a variation of color as this flicks and darts through the water. But that's the Gobbler's Lures bait fish. And that's the plastics. Obviously we went over the barrier jig heads, so that's going to suit mainly the Pro Lure and the Gobbler's plastics. Perfect for them. Now if the fishing is a bit slow, then we've included a big heavy jig here for you as well. So this is an 80-gram Dolcan snapper ball. So this is essentially going to imitate like a little squid. So it is a very slow jig. So if you've got a jigging rod, fantastic. If you don't, that's still fine as well. But what you're going to do with this one, tie it onto your line. You're going to drop it down to where your sounder, if you've got a sounder, is picking up the fish. If you don't have a sounder, drop it down to the bottom and then maybe wind it back off the bottom like 2 foot, because most of the structure down the bottom is where the fish are going to be anyway, unless if you're over submerged fish, but they're going to be harder to find. So if you don't have a sounder, drop it down to the bottom, then wind it up about 2 foot off the bottom there. And you can just slowly just bounce this up and down, or whack it in your rod holder and just let the waves or the rocking of the boat or kayak do the action for you while you sit down and munch on your sandwich. Perfect. Now if you want to fish this a little bit faster, you can. I won't go too fast. I'll drop down sort of 1 or 2 slow lifts up and down, and then wind the slack line in as you drop the rod. So then when you go for the next lift, it's going to be higher in the water column. And you can keep repeating this over and over. Therefore you're covering a fair bit of the water column, and then drop it back down and repeat. And that's it for the Tackle Club Saltwater Inshore box for this month. If you want to check it out or any of the others in the range, just head to www.tackleclub.com.au, pick a box that's right for you, and welcome to the club.